I won't say it's easier because nothing about it feels easier, but the mind tricks you into thinking that it's easier to just coast and stay in that. It's all, well, you guys talked about that victim mentality, right? It is, you stay stuck in that self-hate and miserable. And while it was not your fault, like it wasn't my fault that that girl wrote those things down, but it's like my responsibility as I'm getting older to see how those things impacted me and how like I can take control now because I'm an adult and I can make wiser choices and do different things. And I can watch what I say around my kid, right? Because right now my kid sees my stomach and he's like, oh, squishy, and he loves it, right? And I could easily go, oh, don't touch mommy's tummy, or like, I know I'm fat, or whatever it is. But I'm like, yeah, super squishy, because we imprinted it. We put it all there for them.
Welcome to Cut the Crap with Beth and Matt, the world's #1 no bullshit health and fitness podcast.
Are you ready to cut the crap with your diet and exercise, get strong as fuck, and build a healthy relationship with food? Then you've come to the right place.
Let's go. If you'd like to support us in the podcast, join our Patreon where you get exclusive content, which consists of monthly workouts you can do at home or at the gym, monthly challenges that are either strength, habit, or mindset based, and access to over 100 plus low-calorie, high-protein, family-friendly meals. These are all designed by a professional chef who is certified in nutrition. These recipes are already in MyFitnessPal for easy fucking tracking. New recipes are also added each week.
We believe that fitness is for everyone, so this is our way of getting you started on your health and fitness journey at a price most everyone can afford. So what the fuck are you waiting for? We'll see you in the Patreon. All right, Nerdle,
how are you?
I'm fucking awesome. Chilling in sunny, but also cool Arizona with Sarah right now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Beth. I miss you.
I know. I miss you too.
We had so much fun in our picture
I know,
box
that
getaway.
was so fun. I've been making fattoush salad like every week since then.
Wonderful. I just had spaghetti sauce soup like you did one day.
Awesome. With some Parmesan and some garlic toast. It's so good, right?
That's exactly what I just had for lunch.
Spaghetti soup. That's amazing. Spaghetti sauce soup.
Reminds me of spaghetti soup. My mom used to make that when we were growing up all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Spaghetti soup, pasta soup. Yeah.
Okay. Did it have like a red sauce?
It wasn't really a sauce. It was more of it was a soup, you know? So we'll have to ask Mama Vanderlaar, you know?
Yeah.
So this week, Nerdle, we have Sarah on the show. Welcome, Sarah. Welcome, babe.
Oh, hey, thanks, everybody.
So yeah, Sarah is my girlfriend, Sara Whiteside, and we've talked about her a lot on the podcast. I have, and we've been trying to get her on the podcast to talk a while about what she does and her own journey. So Sarah, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Sara Whiteside. I'm Matt's girlfriend. We've been dating for about a year now. We're in Arizona for my cousin's wedding, so loving it out here. And we just hiked some superstitions this morning. But I am a licensed professional clinical counselor who specializes in trauma and early childhood attachment. I'm an EMDR certified therapist. That's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing for trauma treatment. It helps move the traumatic memories from our frontal lobe where they get stuck into the back where our hippocampus lives. And we don't get physiological responses then once we go through some EMDR stuff. So
that's EMDR. That's a whole new world to me. And Beth, I don't know if that's a new thing to you, but
it is. Can you explain what that is?
And because also before that, I know when we were all together for the Upper Peninsula trip, we were talking about it a little bit. And you told us how if you have that trauma that hasn't been processed, right? Like everything you're processing comes through that. And so can you tell us?
Yeah, your frontal lobe, right? Yeah. So your frontal lobe is where your current processing, as we're having this conversation, all of our frontal lobes are activated. And when a traumatic instance happens or your body goes into fight or flight, one of the things to happen is your frontal lobe goes offline. MRI studies have shown this. It goes physically offline and stops processing. So it will store that traumatic memory with all the original thoughts, images, body sensations, sights, sounds, smells. It's there. And so then that sticks in your short-term recall. So then anything we're kind of going through in our day-to-day basis gets through that filter of what those traumatic memories have stored. And with traumatic memories, a lot of times, because we're humans and we're caring and we're empathic beings, we get a negative core belief associated with it. So something like, I'm wrong, or I'm not safe, or it's my fault, associated with a traumatic event, which just makes that traumatic event even stronger and more front in the memory. So then when you have a physiological trigger, like just yesterday, Matt and I were in a mall and he had said, I have never been to this mall. And then we get to a certain part of the mall and he's like, oh, I've been to this mall. Apparently there was a trigger there to a past memory that was a little bit
That's so interesting
for him. Yeah. And so then he was like, oh, I've been here. And then it all kind of starts flooding back.
I just had deja vu. And then,
it
was the wildest thing.
It's like if I ask you to tell me about the worst moment of your life, it will like have this physiological response to it. You'll feel it in your chest, in your head. You might start to get tears, things like that. But then when we process that memory, it's like me saying, oh, hey, Beth, what did they serve at your wedding for dinner? It's not going to come right away, but you can like get some context clues and go back and be like, oh, we had prime rib or whatever it was. That's how we know it's in the hippocampus. It takes it some time to be pulled out of that memory storage. Whereas the worst moment of your life, boom, it's right there and your whole body is right there. So that's what EMDR does. Actually, Francine Shapiro, the creator of EMDR, she was outside walking after something happened in her life. She was just outside walking and moving her eyes from tree to tree. And she noticed her physiological response was decreased. So that's how EMDR got started. But we engage in bilateral stimulation, so activating both the right brain and the left brain at the same time to reprocess that traumatic memory.
Wow. So kind of the way my brain hears that, since my IT background is like, essentially it's storing in short-term memory, which is that front part. And then what you're wanting to do is permanently store it in like a hard drive, right? Rather than a flash drive.
Yes, where it takes away any shame from the event. It takes away the physiological responses. It's a lot of what I work with in my practice. Even the little things that you might not think. Like for me, it was in 7th grade, a girl from my class wrote down everything I wore for a week because I was always the bigger girl. And she wrote down everything I wore for a week and handed me the list and said, get new clothes. And that was like just in my head. And that came with the, I'm fat, I'm not desirable, I'm an outcast, all of these things, just from that little kid moment where, you know, she was just being a kid too. But that was enough to store in there that later on in life, I got to reprocess with EMDR.
Wow.
That's so, when you think about it, that's so crazy. And all it takes is one person to completely change the trajectory of your life.
Of what you think and feel about yourself.
Exactly. You know, your thoughts. Right. It's fucking mind-blowing, right?
It gets validated through time. Like as more things happen, then we're like, okay, if I really am.
Because you're seeing everything through that lens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like when my mom used to say stuff about my body growing up. It's like that stuff never leaves.
No.
And it's like I've relived these words over and over and over again.
1,000%.
So like you're saying, Beth, now you still do, right?
Well, I mean, it's crazy how I was 11, 12 years old, and I can still remember, we're going to hang you up on our door for Halloween. You're the human garbage can. Your dad loves you more than me because you're thinner than me. I was fucking 12. How sick is that? You know, you're like comparing your 12-year-old daughter to yourself with your husband.
Because of their own insecurities. Their own insecurities are getting
it's like, I wish I can eat like you. And it's like I was a child, a very busy child. But that stuff never left. It's still there. I still think about it. It's like, wow, I can't believe she said that. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, my dad told me one time that he would call Omar the tent maker. So of course, we're going to have a racist comment along with me being fat to make my clothes because I wasn't fitting into any clothes. And I
don't understand either of those, that analogy.
I didn't either. But
yeah, I don't either.
I knew I didn't want Omar the tent maker to make my clothes.
Okay.
Like, you know, like I was like, what's that mean? Like, not only is it a racist statement, it's like on top of it, it's body shaming. And then he told me one time, like, it's okay, we'll just get you liposuction. I was like 14 years old.
Like, oh my God.
So yes, you're right. All those things do stick inside of you. A flippant comment too by the parents, even like making a joke or whatever, it does land.
They don't, and they probably won't even remember that, right? But then it sticks out to you for the rest of your life.
So a lot of what I do in my therapy room is we think about those little comments, and then people always say, "Oh, it's so silly." Like, it's so silly. No, it's not. Like, when you were that age, that was not silly. You being told you're going to be hung on the door for Halloween and be a garbage can, like that wasn't silly at the time. But then to dismiss it because we try to just keep moving on in life, because what else are we going to do?
Yeah.
Right? So we have to find a way to rationalize it in our heads. And so, well, yeah, I need to just eat better. Or yeah, if I just exercise, or if I just do this, then my dad won't have to take me to get liposuction. But then we like work at deconstructing that negative core belief. That
I am the garbage can, or that I am fat and I need liposuction, and
Yeah, or I'm undesirable because I'm the fat girl. Right? I'm undesirable.
Yeah.
And so how do we take that away from ourselves? EMDR is really helpful for that, because it at least takes away the physiological memory that we have. And we talk a lot, Matt and I talk a lot about shame-based food in eating, how much shame and internal traumas are actually built into the way we feed ourselves. Like the idea of, I know, like I have the moment where I'm like, ooh, I ate a lot yesterday. I don't need to eat today. Like, don't need to do
those intrusive thoughts. Yeah.
Those intrusive thoughts a lot of them are that shame-based trauma that lives inside of us. So EMDR can really help take that away.
Got it.
That's powerful.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's really awesome to watch, actually, like to see somebody recognize, well, it's powerful and it's also sad to watch, right? When you see them make the connection of something as small as a girl writing, "Get new clothes," to I'm now 30 and I've been in a big body my whole life and I still hate myself because of, and it all started with that little spark, right? And it's just grown and it's been validated by significant others or society or whatever it is. And in the midst of all of that, you just lose who you are. You don't get to form your own identity, your own.
Right. It's the identity of someone else.
Bingo.
Of the, what the society or those people have created for you.
Right.
Yes. Yep.
Wow. You lose yourself, like you said, and it gets every further validated every time, and it just becomes who you are. And even in the work that Beth and I do, that's a big part of it, right? Because we have to. It's a lot of mindset stuff.
Yeah, well, a lot of people. How much are you fighting it up? Yeah,
because of past traumas in their childhood, right? That they're literally like stuck in this little trauma cycle with their weight loss, right? They because they don't believe fully in themselves and their ability to succeed, because someone made them feel that they're never going to be worthy enough.
100%. And then what happens if I do succeed? What happens if I lose the 100 pounds and I get to the size that I deem is an appropriate size? Then shoot, I have to actually figure out who I am.
Yeah.
So I won't say it's easier, because nothing about it feels easier, but the mind tricks you into thinking that it's easier to just coast and stay in that. It's all, well, you guys talked about that victim mentality, right? It is, you stay stuck in that self-hate and miserable. And while it was not your fault, it wasn't my fault that girl wrote those things down, but it's my responsibility as I'm getting older to see how those things impacted me, and how I can take control now because I'm an adult and I can make wiser choices and do different things. And I can watch what I say around my kid, right? Because right now my kid sees my stomach and he's like, "Oh, squishy," and he loves it, right? And I could easily go, "Oh, don't touch mommy's tummy," or I know I'm fat, or whatever it is. But I'm like, yeah, super squishy, because we imprinted it. We put it all there for them.
Yeah, breaking the cycle.
Well, and especially for your own son, right? Because, he's on the spectrum, so that he would definitely, I think that would impact him a lot differently too, if you did, talk negatively like that.
Oh, sure, because that gets in there and that is cemented. The things that I say with my son with autism, he will remember it forever. So,
you got to be careful.
And I know Matt wanted to talk about my own physical health journey. I've lost 100 pounds since my highest moment. It's been over the course of about 4 or 5 years now. Because 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and by a doctor who didn't do any scans or anything, but it was fibromyalgia. Now it's coming through that it's probably MS. I'm still getting that diagnostic criteria all figured out. But I hike now. I do things now so that when I'm 80, I can bend down and pet a cat or still make my own meals.
What I love about you is that you haven't let your chronic illness and everything going on define you. And we were just talking about that on our hike this morning.
Yeah, when I had to have you tighten my shoelaces. My grip strength's really poor.
Your hands weren't quite working right today.
Yeah, my hands were not working today. And my arms
we almost had that coffee spill in the morning too.
Oh, wow.
She was giving me my coffee and I went to grab it from her, but her hands didn't release. I'm like, babe, can I have the coffee?
Sure. When my hand decides it's going to let go. Right. So you have to, and it's a big mental game with that, because so much in me is like, it would be easier to just like hang out on the couch. I don't.
Yeah.
My legs are inflamed.
When every day you feel that way, that it would be easier just to stay on the couch.
Yes.
Or stay in bed.
Yeah. Even on our hike, when we went hiking that one day, the next day, you couldn't go to the meet and greet because you had that big, huge ball on your ankle from our hike the day before.
I'm still dealing with that ball on my ankle for some
so crazy. Yeah.
Weeks later.
But my feet aren't hurting as bad. So I did get out and hike today. But yeah, it's that constant mental battle of like, I know that I'm going to be in pain regardless, but like, which pain is worse? Is it the pain of like just my disease taking over? Or is it like the pain of me fighting back? I don't know. For some reason that feels so much better for me than just like it just feels defeating to just let the pain take over. And like, I know when we were hiking in Maine, I had my cold and it was like our second mountain of the day. And I looked at Matt and I was like, my hands are completely numb. And I was really pissed off because I was like, I want to finish this mountain with you. And I had to stay up, I think it was like 75 feet before the summit. And I'm like, I physically can't, my legs aren't working anymore, but I made it this far. Like, celebrate the smaller wins. And like, I at least tried to do it instead of not.
Yeah, that's a huge win. You actually tried to do it. You know what I'm saying? That's not like you gave up on yourself and you're like, I'm not going to do it at all.
And that's what we talk about too. Is
or use my chronic illness as kind of like that crutch of like, oh, I can't because I have this. Well, yes, it is a very limiting and defeating and debilitating disease. If you put that failure mindset to it, like Michelle Obama always said, failure is a mindset long before it's a action, like long before it's a reality. And I always think about that, because if I say, oh, I can't hike or I can't walk every day because I have MS, then that's just going to become my reality. And I for sure won't get over it. It's a powerless place. Where if I'm like, sometimes my MS makes it really fucking hard for me to live life. But for the most part, I try the best that I can and I'm going to fight back against it.
For the most part. I love that.
I love that, because it's like, you can either sit there and dwell in your diagnosis. Like I always say, like, you're not your diagnosis.
It doesn't define her.
Right. But it could be an easy way to make it define you.
Exactly. While it is a huge piece of my life and a huge part of my personality, I refuse to let it be, I have to miss out on life. I can't do the things that make me feel good and make me feel powerful because I have this disease.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've learned so much about chronic illness just by dating Sara, and there's still so much for me to learn too.
Yeah.
Especially on those days when she is, the one thing that has stuck out to me, and I think we talked about this a lot with Dr. Joshua Smith when he was on here the first time, because he talked about a lot about chronic illness. She's always in pain, and it's like most of the time she's just not telling you, right? She's not telling me. So the days when she is telling me, that's when it's like, it's more severe.
Yeah.
I have to remember when I was dealing with my back issue, like a month shortly after my half marathon, and I was describing it to her. She's like, yeah, I totally understand that, because that's my everyday is what it was.
Right. We don't think about that. Right. And it's like my husband with his TBI. Sometimes I forget And I get frustrated. And I'm like, and then I'm like, wow, but Beth, he had a fucking stroke. Like you have to, like, I forget, like, oh my God, I wish you got this quicker, but it's like, I have to really rein it in on myself and be like, God, your husband, he's doing really fucking well for someone that has a TBI. So,
right. And imagine how frustrating it is for him.
Exactly. He gets frustrated. He's like, I fucking hate this. Sometimes when you can't come up with a word, like there was a word he couldn't pronounce last night. I forget what it was, but he kept trying and he couldn't get it. I was like, it's okay. It's okay. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Because the stress doesn't make it any
better. Hate this. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Like it was something the other day that I couldn't do with Matt. I can't remember what it was. And he's like, it's just frustrating. And I was like, yeah, living with it every day is frustrating as fuck. Yes. And it is going to impact you and disappoint you at some points too.
Is that when we got into a little argument over the?
Yeah. Over the football game. Yeah. Cause I was like super done. It was a long day of work. And I take on a lot of emotional burden at work, which I do love it, but I need to decompress. Right. And it was cold as fuck outside and my fingertips were even hurting. So I was like, I can't sit at a high school football game right now to save my life. I don't know. Like he said later, I felt like he took it personally. He said later he did not. So we worked through it, but in the way he vented his frustration, I was like, I get it. I'm frustrated every day about it. There is not a day that goes by that I'm not like, fuck MS, man. This shit sucks.
Yeah. So you mentioned now you're talking about MS, like you have it, right? And so can you, because earlier you said like you potentially have it. So can you talk about that too?
Correct. Yeah. So like all of my symptomologies, especially the numbness, point to MS. However, I only have one lesion on my brain and you need 2 for diagnoses. And then I got my spinal tap and it had a high albumin index, but it didn't pair with something else that would have made it more.
You've got a lot of the markers.
So I got a lot of the markers. Yeah. So for me, it's easier to just say MS. And I hope for people who have the official diagnosis, that doesn't seem like I don't know.
Well, didn't your doctor also say like, hey, this is everything that I'm seeing in you ended up being MS. And that's why you're now being more proactive and staying on top of it with your doctor.
Correct. My autoimmunologist neurologist said that she sees a lot of people that it will start off with a diagnosis of fibromyalgia. And then within 10 years, they come back into her office and they're walking with a cane because it's MS.
Yeah.
So because of my age and then the progression of it, and it might not even be MS, it might be fibromyalgia, or it could even be Ehlers-Danlos, which is a connective tissue disorder, but I'd have to get a geneticist to figure that out. But for me, the symptom, what? Go ahead.
What's this been like for you? Because you've been, were misdiagnosed by lots of doctors, and I'm sure a lot of people listening right now can resonate with that, right? Especially I think women in larger bodies too, because they do tend to get dismissed, right?
Yeah, how many times I was told by my doctor to like literally eat beans and rice and walk, and I lost 60 pounds, and I went back to him, and I was like, okay, I'm still in pain every day.
Yeah.
So, what is it?
We hear that too with our clients. I did the damn thing and nothing's fucking changed, doc.
Right.
Yeah. So change your doctors.
Yeah.
Find the doctors that are going to listen to you. I'm sure there are wonderful male doctors out there. However, in my area, I switched all my providers to females. And then thankfully
started changing for you.
Yep. I found a primary care provider who was willing to go off-label for me in terms of treating pain. So I'm on like low dose naltrexone, which decreases microglial cell production in the brain, which decreases inflammation throughout the body. And they've been using naltrexone for opiate and alcohol addiction since the 80s, but they found in low doses, I think mine's like 4.5. Typically they give like 50 to 100.
Right?
LDN, yeah, low dose naltrexone. It's been fantastic for pain management. And and when I saw you guys in pictures,
I was going to say, weren't you out then?
I was out. Okay. Yes. Yep. Yeah. And I was in terrible pain those few days because I was out of it. Yeah. But thankfully, my
impacts your central nervous system.
Yep. And then I'm also on, my neurologist put me on a central nervous system stimulant because fatigue is the worst symptom along with the numbness. Because I was taking 60 milligrams of Adderall for my ADHD every day and I could take a nap. And that's like not normal.
Like, whoa.
Like
You're your doctor.
genuinely, I could sleep. And she said, oh, that's because if it's autoimmune, it's a different type of fatigue. You have to stimulate your nervous system, not just have a normal stimulant. So ever since I've been on the central nervous stimulant, it's felt like my brain fog is a bit better and my overall just mental health is better because I'm more awake.
Oh, nice. That's good.
Yeah, the fatigue's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
And that's another part with like working out is really hard. Like, no, like we were taking a walk the other day, Matt, you remember? We were taking a walk like middle of the day in our work day and I had to go back to work and we're like, oh, I feel so refreshed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
Tell us more about that for sure. That was not refreshing.
After I walk, I don't get energy. I don't feel better. I don't feel like,
right. See, I never thought about that. And now that I'm thinking about it, I was, I'm like, okay, I need to rethink some things that I say. It's like, take a walk, you're going to feel better, but not everyone does.
That's
you
so
would
well
think,
said.
right?
Dating Sarah has 100% changed the way I try to talk about things.
Yeah.
I run things through Sarah a lot too with my content as well.
Right.
Yep. Because when people say something, I'm like, well, if you have a chronic illness, it's a little bit different. But you still do. There's certain times where you do have to push yourself to do the walk. And you're not like, so just do like a block. You don't have to do the 5 miles, like, because I live connected to a park and I have this 5-mile loop that I really like. So what I do is I say, okay, I'm going to offer myself a walk. So I'm not saying you need to walk. You got to get up. Don't do this. Right? I'm offering myself a walk. If I make it a mile and I want to turn around, I can. And 90% of the time I don't turn around after that mile. But if it is a bad day, then I'll turn around because my body tells me.
Then you still got 2 miles in because
I think that's the key, is that just trying.
Yes.
You have to give yourself the opportunity to be successful.
Right.
Yes. And trying different things and advocate for yourself. If you're living in pain every day, if you're living with chronic fatigue, if you feel like shit every day, you should not feel that way. You don't have to feel that way. And it's not only the things that you're putting in your body. And it's not only your weight. It's not only that. Those could be contributing factors for sure. If I'm drinking consistently, if I'm eating poorly consistently, if I am not moving consistently.
Those things all make your symptoms worse.
1,000%. Those will absolutely make my symptoms.
Because you did one of my challenges with me back in, with me and my team back in April, right?
Yeah.
You did our Spring into Action challenge with us. And that was one of your habits was to not drink any alcohol. And you and Emma both, you did the no alcohol and you guys crushed it with workouts for that entire month, right? And you were feeling like you were really, I think, made you also reevaluate how often you were drinking too, I think. And you weren't drinking a lot 100%. By any means, but you would have that nightly drink, right?
Consistently. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, how much am I just adding to the inflammation in my body? And some days I'll just be like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm going to feel like shit anyways with the pain. But it helps me like put into perspective, like, okay, I don't need to add in feeling more like shit.
Yeah.
I can do the little things that make me, it's accepting that I'm always going to be in pain, but recognizing I can do things that mitigate it just a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. And what's the beautiful thing about that is too, Sarah, is I think those things are still those foundational things that we talk about for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Reducing, minimizing alcohol, going on more regular walks, strength training, and
and not shaming yourself. Like we get into this shame mentality and like, we don't deserve it. It's already, life is already hard enough. We don't need to make it harder. It's okay that we feel like shit, but we don't need to wallow in it. We can have our moment. I
used that word yesterday in a post
all the time. Wallow. It's one of Emmett's favorite words. He loves wallowing. And I can't deny like support system makes a huge difference. I live with my best friend. If I didn't have her in my life, I don't know what managing my physical symptoms would look like. Right.
Not only because you also with your son having autism, right?
Exactly. Like imagine if I didn't have a friend living with me and I had my son with autism solely on myself, and then I didn't have the health insurance or access to a chiropractor, little things like that, it would be compounding in difficulty.
Yeah. And those are the things we talk about, how, when it comes to, our health and obesity and things like that, not everybody has that fair access and equal access to all of those things. So it really does come,
Yeah.
not from a place of privilege for necessarily, but, we are privileged in a way that we have access.
100%. We're in Arizona right now. My kid's being watched by my best friend. Like, yeah, that's 100% privilege. We went on a hike and then I get to work a little bit in the afternoon. That is privilege. We aren't clocking in 9 to 5 and
And we worked very hard for this, right? We're entrepreneurs. All of us are here. We've all worked for other people. And you as a clinical practicing counselor, right, babe?
Yeah.
You worked for other people.
I started my workout at the Battered Women's Shelter and Rape Crisis Center. I did that really early on in my career. And that was rough, but it gave me a window into more DV stuff. I really love working with survivors, especially with that trauma, that chronic post-traumatic stress. And then I started working for a community mental health agency. And that was where I gained the most of my weight because I was in an office with no window, 8 hours a day. And they made us schedule back to back from 8 to 5, or sorry, misquoting, 9 to 5. And they said, well, usually somebody wouldn't show, so you could get a lunch, but you didn't know when that would be. And you didn't know.
That's a terrible plan for a lunch.
Yeah, I know. You never know.
Take a lunch.
So your self-care obviously was not, that job was not, conducive to having positive self-care.
Not at all. Not at all. And I was married before. I was married for 10 years and my significant other was a very big drinker and pretty emotionally distant, great co-parent, like adore him for my son. But he really struggled with showing emotional support to me. And so I felt like I was a lone woman on an island. And that's when a lot of my physical health symptoms showed up after I gave birth to my son. And that's a lot of women's stories.
Can you tell us more about that? Because you just said something yesterday, Sarah.
Yeah.
You read a quote from somebody about how these women growing up, or maybe it was just people in general.
It was a holistic psychologist. She said, your parentified daughter is now a dissociated middle-aged woman with autoimmune disorders or something like that.
And when you said that, I was like, that's wow. It's like, that's you.
Yeah. So what it says is if emotionally there was difficulty during childhood, and I was an only child as well. So like I didn't have siblings to collaborate with, or my siblings were the dogs and they were great. But if there is early childhood stuff there, then you struggle with regulation inside the body. And the more active your body's central nervous system is and your vagal response is, then that leads to increased inflammation in the body, is what it had said. That's right. It's coming back to me now. Increased inflammation in the body, which then leads to autoimmune disorders. So,
right.
Right. So looking at how even the early childhood stuff with my clients and myself, how that could condition our bodies to act in like a fight or flight state and hold on to tenseness. And like, I have to remind myself like, hey, unclench your jaw or release your shoulders, that type of thing, because I can be all like tense.
I wanted to say this in there too, while we're talking about inflammation. This is, I think, what pisses me off, right? When we hear about inflammation online, about all these foods and fucking bullshit and cortisol and everything causing fucking
alcohol, it causes inflammation because it's poison.
Right. But then here's somebody who's been living with chronic inflammation, right? And I'm like, fuck off. You have no idea what actual inflammation is, people.
I was going to say, so what does chronic inflammation mean? Coming from an autoimmune disease, living with
so that's where they don't, this is where they don't really know too much. And a lot of it's women struggle with
There's so many
issues.
Experts online.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, well, like when someone says, well, I'm inflamed, I'm like, what's inflamed?
What's inflamed?
Like, can you please tell me, like, do you have diarrhea? Like, what is inflamed? Most people don't fucking even know.
Right. Like we hiked earlier and I had like a mark in my legs from the socks because it was like too much. My legs were like starting to balloon.
Swelling,
And inflammation isn't fat either. Like it's completely different. That seems to be like they're using it interchangeably, it seems sometimes, of it causes inflammation, which is why I'm bigger. No,
Now
I don't.
let's talk about this too, because I think Beth just posted a video, or maybe you reposted a video, Beth, about trauma and leading to weight
how
gain.
trauma causes you to hold on to weight, and when your body feels safe, it's going to let the weight go.
So can you talk about that from a clinical perspective, and like, please help us shine some light on this.
Sure. Okay, so if it's holding on to weight, it's holding on to it in a negative core belief state, like how we talked about.
So not physical weight, it's emotional weight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's yes. Yes,
lifting the heavy.
So
we lift heavy weights and we have heavy feelings too.
Yes,
yeah, imagine that, guys.
But your body isn't going to magically get rid of it, right? Like if me going through EMDR made it so that I magically got rid of weight, that'd be great. No, it helps the mindset. And then when you think better about yourself, you do better for yourself. You put in better for yourself. And then your body's natural response to doing better for yourself and putting better into yourself is shedding some pounds. It just naturally happens. And that's how I would say I lost my weight, was just learning my hunger cues that weren't associated with my negative core beliefs. Negative core belief is I am a fat ass, whatever my negative core belief is. And then I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to eat this. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to do this too. And screw it. It's been a shitty day anyways. Well, then I'm not putting many positive thoughts into myself. Now I'm like, oh man, it was a shit day. I got to get outside. Like I got to go do something. I got to take a walk. I got to scream, cry in my car. I don't know, but like food doesn't have to be the answer. Did
you say, babe, earlier how much weight you've lost? Because I think that would be cool for the audience to know.
100.
You did. Okay. Okay. So, and you didn't. I know we talked about like tracking calories and mindful eating and stuff. And I know you took the route of have you ever tracked calories?
Oh, absolutely. I was at Weight Watchers when I was 15 years old. Like
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, my mom and I went to Weight Watchers at like 15 years old, like doing it together.
So like the people we're talking to online, like you're like in a way, like you're that person.
100%. And it is hard and it's defeating and you're going to plateau. And I've learned little tricks by not saying to myself, instead of being like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. I just pay attention to how little things make me feel. For example, like I used to wear an Apple Watch. And then I started noticing I would get obsessive over like how many steps I did and push my body with my chronic illness. I would push my body further.
Because you thought you needed to exercise to burn more calories or something?
But then it would do the opposite in that I would be down for the count for 3 days because I overdid it.
Because it's that almost in a way, it's that, I wouldn't say all or nothing, but it's you're overdoing it. What would, I don't know, some type of cognitive
willpower, just willpower it in.
Yeah.
Like just do it. If everybody else can walk 10,000 steps, why can't you? Lazy ass, just do it. I'm like, no, I want to, for the most part, be moving in my day. I want to move in my day. I feel better when I move. I feel better when I don't drink.
And I can attest to that. Seeing this from dating you and spending so much time with you, when you do these things, you're in and me too, right? When I do these things for myself, I'm in a better place.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we all are.
Yeah.
We all are.
Yeah.
So, what I think is also, I want to talk more about your weight loss because you told me that there was one reason in particular, right, that you kind of started your weight loss journey. So I think, and I really love it because I also want to say, like, Sarah is a super nerd, and that's one of the things that we bond over because I'm a super nerd as well, just in different ways. Like, she's nerdy about a lot of things but also
Lego.
Like nerd, like Lego. And you're so where I'm going with this is you're also really fucking nerdy about roller coasters.
Yeah, so when I couldn't fit on the rides at Cedar Point. That's right. Yep, there was 2 rides. I had to walk off the Top Thrill Dragster and then the Millennium Force, and I was like, nope, that's not how I want to live.
All time too.
Yeah, but I didn't want to live that way, and so now, as long as I can fit into the rides at Cedar Point, I'm fine. I don't care, and it's really just about the fun thing. Like I want to still ride roller coasters with my dad until. He's not around. So
you did it because you wanted to enhance your life, because you wanted to do the things that you were missing out on. You didn't do it from a place of like, I'm so like
self-hatred.
I can't get on this roller coaster because I'm so fat, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it was like, okay, I want to do this and I deserve to do this. So like, let's do it. We can do this.
Yeah.
You know, like you can do it. Let's just do it. And like having that friend mentality, even with yourself, right? Because we're pretty mean to ourselves. If
Right?
we
Isn't that
said
crazy?
if we said to a friend what like the way we talk to ourselves, like hell no, we wouldn't be friends with that person, or we shouldn't be sometimes. But if I'm like, all right, girl, you got this. You can do this today. Let's go. Or like, hell yeah, you rode that roller coaster and you ate as much cake as you wanted at your birthday. You can do that. Like, who gives a fuck?
You can ride the roller coaster and have your cake too.
Right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And another thing too is how long has this taken you to lose that 100 pounds?
About 4 or 5 years, 4 years. Yeah, about 20.
Did you ever put a like I need to lose this weight now, or like
No, and I don't
year?
get on the scale now, so I couldn't even tell you. It's probably less than 100 now because like I've been eating it up.
Well, I know,
But
and that's something that we both kind of experienced together too. You've made some comment before, like when you need to reel it in, right? And the same.
yeah, my clothes just are tighter. I don't feel as like energetic. I don't feel like as
Because me and Sarah's
excited.
kind of one of the things we do, and I think I've talked probably about this, is we have our nightly sweets, right? So we have our nightly snack usually, and there for a while, I think it was probably over the winter time is when it was kind of winter
Bit out of control.
new relationship, right? So
a bit unmindful, right? Non-mindful.
yeah, for sure. So we had to reel that in.
Yeah. It's just I just start not feeling as I don't know, as vivacious. I don't know.
Right. I get what you're meaning. It's like you just know. You start like I had that like 6 months ago. It's like my clothes, even now, I was like my clothes are starting to feel really tight. Like I'm just uncomfortable with my usual self. It's like you just know I'm just not as tired. I'm more tired and less energy.
Right.
It's like, you know.
Yeah, and you didn't look at it as like, oh, I'm getting fat or anything like that.
No.
You're like, I just feel I don't like the way I feel.
I just don't like the way I feel, and I don't want to fucking buy new.
You're coming from a place of compassion for yourself.
Yeah, and like, what am I doing that's like making me feel shittier, and not like a shame on you, Sarah. Bad you for doing this. It's a hey, what's going on? Okay, we had a lot of fun. We can still have fun, but maybe not the second helping of ice cream,
right?
Or like you don't have to get ice cream if you're not feeling it. And I think I've gotten better with that with Matt, because I used to always join all the sweets because he can be a sweet monster.
Yes, which is with for me is not a fucking problem because I'm so damn active, right? Like
exactly.
Like when we were in Oregon, remember I was like, oh, we should just get ice cream. I mean, why? I'm like, we don't fucking need it. And I was like, all right.
I will say, like, and I love being active. I love living an active lifestyle. But if I did not live this, I could not eat the way that I do if I did not do the things that I do. And that doesn't mean I'm eating to or exercising to earn all these things. No, I'm fueling my body appropriately.
Right.
I love food. So that's just a nice added benefit is I love food. I love eating, and I love moving my body.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about that too is, oh my God, we've talked so fucking much about your cooking on the podcast now.
Yes.
I love to eat, and I don't necessarily love to cook. Sarah loves to cook. Literally, it's like a form of self-care.
Love language. Yeah. It's therapy. Like putting all the ingredients out. Like you noticed that pictured rocks, I did it for like hours at a time. It was a whole process. It feels good.
You just pop on a podcast and you listen to music.
It's like that's your self-care moment.
Yeah.
It's like where you can just zone out and do what you love and listen to stuff you love.
Exactly. Right. And then at the end of it, you get to be like proud of what you've done. And then you can share it.
And feed people you love,
Exactly.
Right. And like I mean, those are probably some of the best favorite memories of you so far is like you've been feeding her very well.
That's so fun,
her, even when she was sick, before you ever met her, you made her that.
I know.
That's right. I did make that.
Yeah, when I had COVID. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we drove all the way out to Maine.
Yeah, you guys, I know. Such a bummer. We'll have to do it again for sure.
Yes,
this summer,
But yeah, I think it was more of a I'm feeling like shit. When I figured out I had even just fibromyalgia, it was this isn't gonna get any better. And I'm only 30, I was 31 at the time. So it's like this isn't gonna get any better. So what can I do now? Because
mitigating risks.
Yes. If I don't do anything now, then I'm going to be in a wheelchair when I'm 50 something, and no shame to anybody that's in a wheelchair. Like that sucks. That if your chronic condition has led to you not being the use of your legs, or like Christina Applegate has really struggled because she has the very progressive.
I've been hearing so much more about her. And
she has the aggressive MS, and like her legs just have stopped working, and she took care of herself a lot throughout her life. And So that it's
chronic
so
illness
fucking
doesn't
defeating.
like it doesn't fucking discriminate.
Doesn't discriminate.
No,
not at all.
No.
Not at all. But that's motivation. And
Yeah.
you know what? If I find myself in a wheelchair, then at least I'll be able to push the wheels, I guess. I don't know. That's we gotta find the silver linings.
You'll cross that bridge when you get to it.
Sure.
If you get to it.
Should I ever get to
And in the meantime, you're living a life that with the goal of not being to that point, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
No, not that's not. I mean, that's a goal for sure. That's you're living.
It's
your
not
life.
solely within my power either, though, right? Like again,
right.
Christina Applegate.
Right.
There's certain days where she cannot walk, so like that's not within her power, and she obviously was active a lot in her life. So it might become a not choice for me. But until then, I'm going to if and when, then I'm gonna keep trying. I think that's because why not?
What the fuck else are you gonna do?
Right? Like what else are you doing
right?
here on Earth? One time.
It's that you know what we were talking about earlier. And we've talked about this before a lot on the podcast. Is pain in life is mandatory, right? But suffering is optional. You're not,
pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional.
Yep. 100%.
Yep.
And a lot of the times, like we've created thought patterns, not our faults, but we can get rid of the thought patterns that contribute to the suffering that we feel on a day-to-day basis.
Can we talk about how we could potentially do that?
Yeah. So not shame. No shame is the first one. Like recognizing your internal monologue, the things that you communicate with yourself on a daily basis, or even if you make a little mistake, what do you say to yourself inside? If it's anything but like, okay, I can learn from this. All right. Why are you saying those things to yourself?
So like awareness.
Yeah. Awareness. Bring awareness to where you might be shaming yourself. Brene Brown is great with shame. Any Brene Brown book giving you some like guidelines to start reading, those will help you with like recognizing shame inside of you and dismantling it. And then putting in that friend buffer, that friend mentality, like where I'm like, all right, girl, you can do this. Let's take a walk today. Let's do this. You got it. Small and gentle. Like, hey, do you want that? Do you want whatever that chocolate bar is? Fuck yeah, you do want that. Okay. Yeah. Let's just eat like a couple slices of it and then put it away and see if you still really want more of it. Gentle. That's the only way we're going to get through it. But also tough, right? Because you can't like then take your like, okay, you don't have gentle, but not enabling. If that makes sense. Like,
you can't co-sign your own bullshit all the time, right? Like you have to recognize when you're co-signing your own bullshit and when you're being truthful with yourself.
Right.
And you only learn that when you fuck it up, and then you have to just try again.
You have to live with yourself. Like I had to live with myself if I decided to leave my workout when it wasn't finished. Like who am I fucking around for? Like that's you know what I'm saying? It's like I have to live with the fact that I left the gym and didn't finish my workout. Never done that, but
nobody else does.
It's crossed their mind. I know it's crossed my mind. I really don't want to finish this last set. I could just leave right now. Yeah, you could, but what is that? How's that going to work out for you?
And then you never regret finishing it, right?
I was just going to say that. I'm not
exactly.
I wish I wouldn't have done that hike for that last set. That last set took me over the edge.
Yeah.
I wish I wouldn't have done that one last set that I was regretting, and I pushed myself as fucking hard as I could.
I know. What a fucking loser you are.
Like I wish I would have just grinded through something really fucking hard.
Yeah. I mean, I regret when I give up on myself. We regret.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I had a thought too, like from my perspective, I've learned a lot about, chronic illness and there's probably I know we have a lot of listeners that have types of chronic illnesses, different types of chronic illnesses from like a spouse or partner perspective.
Significant other.
Yeah. Significant other perspective. Like how can, a significant other start to change or help their spouse,
I think
significant other that's struggling with chronic illness?
Yeah, I think that person with chronic illness has to have a safe enough space within their significant other to be able to share with more, I don't know, like clarity what's happening for them on a day-to-day basis. Because like everybody's relationship is different. And I know, especially if it's a female with chronic illness, females do a lot of the times take on that like mental load and that mental responsibility and we have to disconnect that, like, us having a chronic illness takes away from our abilities, because it's just different abilities. It's just like harnessing, using, hopefully you have a safe enough partner, but this is why I got rid of my last partner, my husband. This is one of the reasons that we broke up, is because he wouldn't understand the mental illness, not the mental illness, the physical illness. He said, you've got laying down to do, because I would have to take a nap. And so he's like, go ahead and we'll lay down.
You've got some laying down to do.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Which is like hard actually for you to do too. Like when you're having a
fucking hate having to lay down.
Yeah.
You
want to do everything but that.
Bingo. Right. I hate it when my kid's out there playing and I'm like, he's only going to be 5 once. He's only going to be 5 once. And I have to be sleeping because my body feels like tar on pavement. Yeah. So first they have to hopefully have a supportive partner in a safe space to be able to say, and then also like finding a support group, a community of people with chronic pain, because your partner.
That's very true. Yeah.
Your partner or your friend without chronic pain or chronic conditions is not going to understand yours as much as they want to, as much as they try to, as much as they like.
I can attest to that.
I think
you're never going to understand.
It's like an iceberg. I'm just scratching the surface.
Yeah. Support groups are not talked about enough, and they're so underrated. I feel like so many people should be seeking out support groups, and they absolutely aren't. Like anybody that is taking care of someone with Alzheimer's.
Yes.
Both sides of my family have had Alzheimer's, and I've seen what it does to the caregiver, and they have yet to seek support for it. I'm like, you need to talk to people. You're like drowning.
Yes.
Alcoholic,
isolating. Yes.
Drug addicts, whatever. You guys support. Someone with community care, chronic illness. Yeah.
Yes. Community
and it's out there. You just have to look for it and ask.
Yes. Just yeah. And ask. Keep asking.
People are afraid to ask.
Yeah. Well, and then they've been shut down.
Of course.
Like,
right.
You know, like there's so much like.
I get it. But yeah.
But you deserve it. Like that's where again, being that mental, just because you have to didn't understand it doesn't mean that somebody else out there isn't.
That's part of that identity, right? Those things you tell yourself, right? If you keep telling yourself that this is going to keep happening, or like, that sucked that they shot me down and it didn't work out.
Right.
Or I can do this on my own. I'm tough enough.
Oh, that bullshit.
You're drowning. No one's tough enough. Okay.
You don't get a reward or, at the end of the life for doing it on your own.
Right. It's not a flex to run yourself to the ground.
Well, and then what happens is you end up like ruining your relationships. If I only went to Matt to understand my chronic health condition, as much as he does try, it would be defeating. It just would, because I would never get him to the level of full understanding.
And I think if there's anybody out there listening that has a spouse or significant other that has chronic illness, from my perspective is I've had to work on not internalizing it.
Yeah.
Right. When you can't do these things, it's not that you don't want to do them with me. It's that that's not the best for you right now. It's that you can't do it. You want it.
Right. And think about how much it takes the chronically ill person to get to the point to say like, no, I can't show up in life this way. That's why I say it takes a safe person, a safe partner. Like when I decided not to go on that hike with you guys and pictured rocks, all of you guys were safe. That was formed in that moment because there was no judgment or shame surrounding that. But if I had a partner that was like, it's not that bad, or, oh, your ankle's swollen again.
Oh, you'd rather lay down.
Yeah. Right.
Then I'm going to not say anything about it. And I'm going to be in shame because of my disorder. And I'm not going to give my body what it needs. And then all of that negativity is going to perpetuate my pain. And
because the way I look at it is like, we still get to do these things, right? Like we just did a nice 3-mile hike this morning, right? And I can still go out and fucking run up Camelback Mountain, on my own time, right? And because you give me that freedom and that I know that it's safe for me also then to do those things.
Oh yeah, like when we were in Maine, and we went up the one mountain and then you went to the Beehive, like we figured out how far of that I could do with you before it got ridiculous. And I turned around and you kept going. It was perfect.
Yep.
But we have to be safe enough and honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's where that starting happens. And to get I hope that whoever it is a safe partner and that they have community care there. But if not, that would be the first thing, is finding community care, finding a support group, finding a therapist. Obviously, I love therapy. Finding a therapist, finding somebody that understands chronic pain and chronic illness.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, while you are, I mean, yes, you are a victim of chronic illness, but people are victims of a lot of things in life. And again, don't make it a part of your identity. Just because it's a piece of who you have to be and who you're forced to be.
You are a victim of this thing, but I am a victim, kind of.
Like, yeah, this sucks. Yes, this sucks. And I do think about the people out there who have conditions from birth that have limited their abilities to live in life, right? And I didn't have that, and not saying their life is absolutely worth living too. And they've had to go through so much more mentally than I ever will have to. Mm-hmm. And so I do a lot of like, well, today I can use my legs. I am really grateful for that.
You're practicing a lot of gratitude.
Bingo.
Yeah. I always think there's someone that has it worse off than me. Like, no matter who it is, there's someone else that has it worse.
Mm-hmm. And not just counting how you're feeling in that moment, but like, you can get through this. You can get through this. If other people have gone through way worse than this, you can do this. Not saying you don't deserve to like look at the pain and have your moment, but you can do this.
Yep.
We can do hard things. You can do hard things.
We can do hard things.
I say that to myself internally, Beth, all the time.
I hate when people tell me that. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I know. We can do hard things. Yeah. I get it.
Damn, my lingo is caught on.
Yes.
Choose your hard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 100%.
All right. Well, it's 3:10.
Holy Moses, that flew by.
I know. I got to head off to pick up my son.
This has been a good hour.
This has been amazing.
I hope everybody enjoyed talking with Sara here today. We've been wanting to do this for a while, and I think we may do this again. We have so many things that we want to talk about, I feel like.
Yes.
If anybody has any questions.
Intro to Sara,
Intro to Sara, yeah.
Where can people find you, Sara, or if they wanted to send you a message?
So I need to be better with Instagram, but
we posted one collaboration video together.
And that's I think all I have on my work Instagram. It's Scorpio Rising. So
2 S's at the end.
Yeah, Scorpio Rising with 2 S's at the end.
And of course, we'll put it in the notes as well.
So you have a birthday coming up.
Me? No.
You're not a Scorpio?
No. My Scorpio sun is rising.
Okay.
Yes. That's it. I was like, wait, no.
I was like, where'd you get that? I was like, I don't know the signs and stuff like that. So. I know I'm a Cancer.
I'm a Sagittarius, so I figured I was like, oh, Scorpio, Sag. That's where I went.
Yeah, so my rising, my sun is a Scorpio. So that's where that Scorpio rising comes from. But I'm an Aquarius too. And really, I made that forever ago, and I didn't realize I'd be using it.
Here we are.
I was gonna sell like some macrame stuff.
This will be more of your motivation to do some of those things you've been wanting to do on social media.
I know, and that's it is. That's where mental energy and brain fog don't help, but I can do it.
Small action steps.
There you go. I will put one post on there on our trip for all of my new friends with Cut the Crap. How about that?
Yeah, I love it. So fun to catch up with you, Sara.
You too,
thanks, babe.
Beth. Absolutely. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay. Bye.
I'll talk to you in like 30 seconds.
Later. Yeah. I'll talk to you guys later, though.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Hope you enjoyed this episode, so why not share with a friend who needs to hear it? Send us a DM on Instagram or email us at cutthecrappod@gmail.com and join our Patreon at patreon.com/cutthecrappodcast. As always, we appreciate you and thanks for being here.